Welcome back. Emerging Media Makers, episode number 2. Bernardo with you. Our next guest, James Zeiss, producer of Section 420 Talkin Yankees. James, how are you?
Doing great. Thanks for having me.
The Yankees, that's my team too. That's it. High five, man.
We got to keep it Bronx here, you know.
It would have been awkward if I was a Red Sox fan doing this interview.
You know, it might get a little violent.
Too soon?
Yeah, a little violent. I got to get over it.
Okay, before we even get into the meat and potatoes of this interview, like, what do you think about them actually, like, doing what they did, like, singing New York, New York after they won the World Series in the locker room? What was that about?
Yeah, well, in fairness, Judge kind of started that because after they won Game 2 in Fenway, he kind of went by their locker room and started blasting New York, New York. So Judge kind of initiated that, so they had to answer it back.
I didn't hear that story. See, you got the inside track, man.
Got the inside track. I got some people on the inside.
So you host Section 420 Talkin Yankees. How did you have the idea or come up with the idea for the show, and how did you come to us here at BronxNet?
Sure. Well, first I used to work with a friend, and we used to do a lot of one-off videos. Like one of them was like a cooking video where I took like a hot dog, a hamburger, and made a hamburger, hot dog, quesadilla. I maybe cooked some weird things. Another time I went to an antique toy and train show and went in there and kind of did behind the scenes. I did a bike tour of Pelham Bay Park. But it was a separate project. So my friend was like, hey, let's just do something where we can consistently have a show. Right. So I'm in the Bronx. What should we talk about? Yankees. Hi. Yeah, exactly.
What's more Yankees than that? I mean, more Bronx than that?
There you go. And so that started about 3 years ago. So we just started consistently doing these videos. We had it on YouTube. And then I had a friend out in Long Island who is very heavy into public access TV. He said, hey, James, I see you do this thing. It's great, but, you know, you could put it on public access. And I was like, really? It just seemed like, you know, like no one really talks about it and stuff anymore. So I did my research, found BronxNet, and, well, here I am.
And you took the class, and you graduated, and you submitted your show, and here it is.
Yeah, exactly.
And the dream happened. There you go.
And it was easy. I mean, you kind of think, I can't do that, I can't do that. But
sure.
It's so easy. And it's just like, wow, I wish I'd done that years ago. But, you know, timing's everything, and I guess, you know, there's a purpose for me to be here.
Excellent. So now we're going to check out a clip from Section 420 Talkin Yankees with James Zeiss. Check it out.
Now, regular season game only, July 9th, 2011. But it's when Derek Jeter got his 3,000th hit, which no other Yankee did before, and off a tough lefty, David Price. But in the game, in total, Jeter goes 5 for 5, and again, on his 3,000th hit to get a home run. It's like, it's never been done before. The place erupts. I was up there in Section 420. It was a historic moment for the Yankees.
That's from Section 420 Talkin Yankees. It's on Tuesdays at 7 p.m. on BX Omni. So we have James, the producer, here. And so in that clip, you talked about the 3,000 hit that Jeter had. Is that were you actually sitting in Section 420 in Yankee Stadium when that happened? Is that the reason that you named the show that way?
No, yeah, well, partially. But even at the old Yankee Stadium, my uncle really, you know, I used to go a lot of games with him, and we used to always sit in that section, upper deck behind home plate. So in the new stadium, it's Section 420, and even if we had tickets there, we'd always go to that section. So that's, you know, so in terms of naming the show, you know, well, Talkin Yankees, that's like generic, and there's been other similar titles, but I wanted something different. So I want to give the feel like a fan in the stands. So that guy in Section 420.
Sure.
So.
Sure.
And a lot of people think the 420 has something to do with some other 420. It has nothing to do with that.
No,
absolutely not. And not that I would turn those people away, but it has nothing to do with that. It's the seating section.
You want the maximum audience possible.
Exactly. So if those,
you don't discriminate.
Bring them in. It's okay. But yeah, it has to do with the section. And in that clip, actually, it's a little different because usually it's a straight narrative where I'm just speaking right to the camera, blah, 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 talk about the team. So in that clip, it was my top 10 Yankee moments, and of course, Jeter hitting the home run. So we kind of played with it in post-production. That's why you see it's a bit of cloudy mood there. So I'm remembering, and I'm not talking to the camera. I'm actually kind of recollecting, or I'm like talking to someone else, and then you, the viewer, kind of peeking in, or checking in my conversations. You don't listen to my conversations. But anyway, that was the whole deal. And of course, yes, I was up there. Jeter went 5 for 5, and on his 3,000 hit, hitting a home run to get the 3,000 hit. It's like, I mean, this guy's like, I don't know, God wrote the script to his life. It's just insane.
So you mentioned the way you shot that. Like, your show has high production value. You've got the Yankee Stadium in the background, and you're around the Yankee Stadium and talking to people around the Yankee Stadium. So why did you choose that specific look or that specific approach to your production for your show?
Well, yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. There's been similar type of stuff. You have talk radio, but it's not just about the Yankees, it's about the area. You know, that South Bronx area, the architecture. I mean, the new stadium looks amazing. You go across the street, there's the park there, the track and field. I like to showcase that. I like to showcase the old courthouse. And if you go up 161 across the courthouse, there's a beautiful park. And if you go there in late April, I mean, when the flowers come out blooming all over, it's just like, you know, very amazing. And I mean, maybe in the past people have some negative connotations about the area. I'm just trying to show the beautification of it. Just, you know, hey, this is a beautiful area. the subway and stuff like that. I mean, you couldn't even build a Hollywood set like that. So,
Yeah.
Talk about the Yankees one thing, but I like to have my feet on the ground and actually be there on the ground, and it brings people in more versus me just kind of sitting behind a wall that has the Yankee logo or something. And there's plenty of those on YouTube as well, but this is very unique. No one else is doing it this way.
Sure. And so pick one: old Yankee Stadium, new Yankee Stadium, or maybe old Yankee Stadium, old Yankee Stadium, or new Yankee Stadium.
Yeah, unfortunately, I never got to see the old one. In fact, there's an old movie with Jimmy. If no one ever seen the old Yankee Stadium, it's called FBI Story by Jimmy Stewart. There's actually a scene where they go into the old Yankee. It's probably the only movie you see of the old Yankee Stadium. So if anyone wants to check that out. Now, I always thought I would hate the new. I'm a traditionalist. I thought I would hate the new Yankee Stadium. But I went there for the second game because the Yankees lost the first game ever there to the Cleveland Indians. Second game, Yankees won. Jeter, that guy again, hits a home run. Mariano got the save. And, I was like, hey, this place isn't as bad as I thought it'd be. They brought back some of the old tradition of the old stadium. And with those elevators, especially if you're up there in Section 420, boom, you get down the elevator. You're out in the stadium in like less than a minute sometimes. The old stadium, you'd have to go down those rampways like that. It took forever to get out, especially after a loss. You feel miserable. You want to get out of there. The only good thing with that once people bunch up like that, you might get a couple of fights with Red Sox fans. That was kind of interesting. But yeah, I really like the new stadium. I found myself, surprisingly, very happily surprised with that.
So your show, you focus on the Yankees for 29 minutes straight, basically. And so you have the gift of gab, absolutely. So do you draw inspiration from any specific sports talk show hosts that you might have grown up listening to or watching on TV or on sports radio, maybe?
Yeah, I mean, I like the fan, of course, Mike Francesa, he's the king. I also like Joe Minervo on WFAN, the fan. Michael Kay, another Bronx native. He's on ESPN Radio. So yeah, grew up with a lot of them and just listen overnight. So yeah, I like Yankee Talk. I like talk radio. And I always wanted to kind of go into sports journalism some way, but I've also been, a lot of like media, like making videos. So I try to combine them both. Because again, I think the thing you lose with sports talk, it's just like it's a voice, it's great, but like you can't really visualize the person talking to you. So that's why I like to talk and again have my hand movements, stuff like that. I can't help it. I'm part Italian, so it's part of the whole deal.
Hey, it happens with us Dominicans. What can you do? So you have your YouTube channel, yes?
Yes.
So how important do you feel it is to cross-promote between different platforms and,
Oh yeah, I mean you have to be. I mean just because some people, for example, just may not know about BronxNet, but let's say they could go to YouTube and vice versa. Because there is something cool about seeing it on TV. Like I remember the first time I watched the pilot episode, I was just stunned. I was just amazed. Yeah. So you gotta be there. I tweet it out. I Facebook it as well. Just try to get the word out there, get an audience, and then just see what goes. And I like the YouTube parts. I like to interact. People make comments. Hey, no, we should not make this trade. Or good idea. I say something. I want people to like disagree with me or agree with me. Or I want to start a conversation with fans. So not just leave it to the professionals. Because all you get to see is the guys on like the news anchors, stuff like that. They only get their opinion. I want opinion from regular people and just go back and forth banter, and it's nice.
Have you considered maybe doing a live show where you could kind of take phone calls? So maybe you do part of the show the way you're doing it now, and then maybe we'll talk.
Hey, I'm open. I'm open to ideas.
Because that way you get the immediate feedback from people.
Exactly. No, and I like conversations. Like I said, once in a while I do bring a guest on, some friends to talk. I mean, usually it's me, blah 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 blah. But once in a while I like to bring other people. Yeah, that would I'd definitely be open to those ideas.
So hard-hitting question right now. Mets or Red Sox if they're playing together?
Who do I go for?
Yeah.
I would actually go for the Mets, actually.
Really?
Yeah. See, I just feel like the Yankees are the big brother. So it's like, I don't know. Like, I wouldn't mind the Mets getting one once in a while. It just depends who it is, how the situation is. That's why a lot of people say, like, this Yankee team, it's hard to hate them because it's Judge, it's Sanchez, it's young guys. I can understand them hating the old Yankees where they had A-Rod and Giambi and all these big money guys. So right now in the Mets is like no one to hate, so I wouldn't really mind seeing them, beat up on the Red Sox a little bit. And plus, the Red Sox have all those guys with those beards and stuff. It just drives me nuts. I don't know. No beards.
So let's get into it. Like, what do the Yankees need to do to take it all next year? Like, this is just depressing this year.
Yeah.
What needs to happen? Tell us.
It has to be the starting pitching. They got the hitting down. It's just, if you look, with the starters, you have Severino, who was great. He kind of fell flat in that Red Sox game. But other than that, all the other starters, they had to pull them by the second or third inning. Back in the day, we used to have 3 or 4 guys. So it was like Andy Pettitte, El Duque, David Cone, those guys, and then when we won in 2009, you had a strong, CC Sabathia on top of his game, AJ Burnett, and you need like at least 3 or 4 good guys. We didn't have that. We just had Severino, who came up short, and then after that, there was no one to back him up. So it has to be starting pitching this offseason, and I think that's what you'll see. They're talking about Corbin. They might make a play for Keuchel, something like that. You can't have, like, as much as I love the guy, you can't have like CC Sabathia starting an important game 4 or 5. It's like,
Greatest Yankee pitcher of all time?
Pound for pound, it's got to be Ron Guidry. Now, Mariano Rivera has the best stuff, but in terms of Ron Guidry, in terms of being a starting pitcher, having the fastball, being a lefty, I have to say Ron Guidry. A lot of people say it should be Whitey Ford, but I think back then in those days, like he was probably only throwing like 87 miles per hour and stuff like that. So I think if Whitey Ford pitched in this era, he probably got rocked. Ron Guidry, he could probably pitch back in the 20s, 30s. He could probably even pitch now and still be successful. So I have to say Ron Guidry.
Excellent. And one last question: Don Mattingly Hall of Fame, yes or no?
No, sorry.
Ah!
I know.
I still like you anyway. It's okay.
Okay.
Check it out. James's new show is called Section 420 Talkin Yankees, Tuesdays, 7 p.m. on BX Omni, Optimum 68, and also on Files 34. Thank you so much, James.
Thank you. Pleasure.
I really appreciate it. Go Yankees. Thank you so much for tuning in to another installment of Emerging Media Makers. I'd like to thank our director, Lizzie Dominguez, Latricia Burton on the prompter, Phil Lane and Audrey Duncan, our producers, associate producers, Leomari Rodriguez and Ramon Torres, and the rest of the team at Creative Services. BronxNet, remember, provides training and classes to Bronxites so that they can tell the stories that are important to them. To learn more about YouTube, you can have a program on BronxNet. If you have a good idea for a show, simply go to BronxNet.org, BronxNet.org, click on Join Us, and then click on Produce Your Own Show. We look forward to seeing you in episode number 3, Emerging Media Makers, Bernardo Moranta. I've been with you, and I'll be with you next time as well, here on BronxNet.